Good, man. Looking forward to this call.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to wait maybe one more minute to get everyone settled in the community chat. Great to see you guys. Anyone here for the first time?
Yeah, it's me. Hello.
Hello, Art of Tomas. How are you?
I'm good. It's a little bit late here in Sydney, but I wanted to stay up because I always miss these calls. And I just wanted to come here and say hi to everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome, Tomas. Thanks for staying up. Hopefully we provide some juicy details for you, new info.
I'm sure that would be amazing.
Cool. So I'm just waiting
for those who don't know, Thomas has been posting some good stuff about Zero on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, definitely check out his feed.
Well, what's your Twitter handle, Thomas?
It's The Art of Thomas with no H.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let me kick this off. I assume we have the recording starting now. Magnus, can you confirm? Hello, Mr. Magnus.
I'll ping him now.
I see that he's unmuted, but can't hear him.
Yeah, if you're speaking, I can't hear you, but I messaged you. Hopefully I can. Let's see. Okay, awesome. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the Sovryn Community Call, episode number 45. This is Ingalandia, head of ecosystem growth with Sovryn, the place to be for your Bitcoin DeFi needs. So we've got some dope topics to dive into today, including our new website and brand reveal, FastBTC update, and recent developments with Zero. Spoiler, we hit 2 million TVL. If you know someone from a project that could benefit from collaborating with us, bring in more liquidity in Bitcoin or stablecoins, feel free to DM me on Twitter or Discord at Ingalandia. So thank you all for joining us here. Thanks for sharing in this mission. The guidelines are if you'd like to speak, you can untoggle the mute button and be patient. We'll get to you. Also note that we periodically pause for any questions you might have. And also, if you're feeling a bit shy today, you can write your questions in the general channel in our Discord, though I encourage you to speak up. It always enlivens the call and would be greatly appreciated. So I'm going to kick this off with Iago on strategy.
Hello, Sovryn. Hello, Sovryns. Over the last month, as planned, we launched two major product initiatives. The first is Zero, and the second is Perpetuals. Zero, which John Light will talk about a little bit more, has been growing very steadily, and this is really important because it's an entirely unsubsidized product, growing in the middle of a deep bear market, and doing so organically, showing early signs, even though it's limited early access with a relatively, comparison to where we would like to be, cumbersome UI, showing early signs of product market fit and the ability to turn into a significant and powerful killer app for Sovryn. It also provides a key component to building out any ecosystem, which is the primary ability to create stablecoins. As you guys are aware, over the last 5 weeks, it's grown to have over $2 million in collateral. with just under $20,000 in collateral per average line of credit, and just under $7,000 in borrowing. Not only are we seeing a growth in the number of lines of credit and value, but we're also seeing a growth in the average size of line of credit. So users are testing it out, it appears, and then as they become more comfortable, taking greater and greater advantage of it. So that's very exciting. It is the ability to drive products like this, which can grow even in a bear market, which speaks to the massive potential which can exist in a bull market with greater integrations, better UI, and an overall deeper integration with our ecosystem, Bitcoin ecosystem, and the crypto ecosystem as a whole. A big part of what has allowed that to happen is you guys, the community. And in particular, I'd like to give a shout out to some of the community members who have been making a real difference. Art of Thomas, Cordy.rsk, Travis Trades, Sacros, Rough Hit, Sovereign Origins, have all been posting tweets about how they're using it, writing blog posts about their own experience, their own plans, creative ways in which they and others who can learn from them can use the Zero product. Zero is a pretty magical number. And today I saw someone tweeting that, if Bitcoin is magical internet money, then Sovryn Zero is magical internet borrowing. And I think it's that kind of community-driven content, viral content, and memes, which really makes a difference. And so you guys have a huge opportunity and responsibility to really drive the adoption of this product. So that was the first product. The second product is Perps. Perps has been less of a resounding success so far. We've seen problems in terms of, Perps has disappointed us in terms of the conversion rate of people who are coming to Perps and actually converting into users, and also in terms of the retention rate. This is typical. This is usually what you would expect when you launch a product. Zero is quite special in that it's showing basically from day zero early signs of strong product market fit. And so there's going to be more work that is required around Perps. And that is why both Zero and Perps are labs products. We need to work on them, iterate on them, and improve them so that they can graduate from being labs products to being full-fledged parts of the Sovryn ecosystem. In addition to that, right now we're engaged in a significant strategic planning effort across the core team, and we are collecting a great deal of data, doing a lot of analysis around our user base and the way users are using our suite of products, so that we can plan around that on the basis of analytics, on the basis of data, and engage you guys with that kind of data as we as we get it to a point that it becomes something that we can share and make more consumable, and then we can all as a community have a more informed conversation about how we can continue and accelerate the growth of Sovryn. We also are kicking off a process to substantially rewrite our front-end UI. So we built the UI over the course of a year and a half very quickly, introducing a large number of UIs built by a large number of developers and different teams for a large number of products. And we've taken on significant technical debt. We now need to make the front end more uniform, easier to work with, more modular, and basically build it out of consistent Lego pieces, which will allow us to begin to accelerate the rate at which we can improve the UI as a whole. We expect this process to be about 4 months, and to be kicking off in the next sprint. Finally, today, we're excited to give you guys a sneak peek of the branding work that we've been that we've been working on, and the new sort of visual and content language for Sovryn as the protocol and the community has matured. That part of this conversation, I think we'll try to push a little bit more towards the end, because we will not be posting that publicly. That is purely a sneak peek for the people who are on this call here and now and today. And that's it from me.
Okay, so that was a lot of updates from Iago. Do we have any questions for him? Okay, so I will move on to product and governance with Light.
Thanks, Ingemar. Hi, folks. So no updates from me today on the governance side. There have been no new SIPs introduced since the last community call. But as always, if anyone has an idea about how to improve Sovryn, we welcome your ideas in the Sovryn forum. If you have a SIP idea, you can share it in the SIP subcategory. And there is also a delegate subcategory where you can solicit voting power to become a Bitocracy delegate. We haven't seen as much as that but it is there for anybody who has a vision for how to improve Sovryn and would like to attract voting power to realize their vision. You can create a post in the delegate subcategory, share your vision, and try to convince SOV stakers to delegate some voting power to you. So definitely go check those things out in the forum if any of that is of interest. On the product side, I've been focusing on working with the front end team to continue to improve Zero. There should be a bundle of improvements based on some of the feedback that we've been getting since the initial release of the early access version of Zero. That bundle of improvements will be coming out within the next couple of weeks, and should resolve pretty much all of the major pain points that people have been having with the current version of the user interface. For the most part, it seems to be working well, but there are some quality of life improvements that will help just managing lines of credit and interacting with the protocol a bit easier. In terms of progress on the adoption side of Zero, we've seen Zero cross over 100 open lines of credit. Currently, there are exactly 105 open lines of credit with 85.5 FastBTC locked as collateral and a circulating supply of over 807,000 ZUSD. And about 91% of the ZUSD supply is currently deposited in Babelfish's XUSD aggregator. So as far as we can tell, it looks like about half of that is being used to trade and lend and generally, participate in the Sovryn ecosystem. And about half of that is going across the bridge to be converted into other stable coins. So this is very interesting to watch and see. Those are the updates that I have today. So I'll pass it back to you, Ingemar, unless anyone has any questions.
Yes, thank you. Does anybody have questions for Mr. Light? Okay, actually, I have not yet checked the general chat, so let me see if we have anything. I'm sorry, so we have this from JS. could Iago talk a bit more about the reasons perps have not been a success? Is it the UI, the market conditions, or something else?
Yes. So I think there's a number of people on the team who are looking into this. So I'll give a high-level response, and then Fazili or Wayne or Simsim, if you want to jump in. I think it's one of the key things that we need to do is try and discern what the reasons are, because there's a lot of things that could be the reason, right? One is there was quite a lot of friction to use the product. The second is the product currently is running on a different chain, and it's the only product that we have that is running on BSC, which might not appeal to all of our users, and also introduces additional frictions. Could be that the fees currently are too high. Certainly, I think market conditions is playing a role. I think the degree to which the product is differentiated from other purpose products is probably not great enough right now, and the messaging around that differentiation as a result is not distinct enough either. What we need to do now is look at the data and analyze the data and user behavior to try and discern how much weight we should provide to each of those possible theories. And then on the basis of that, we'll know where to emphasize development, iteration, and corrections. Vasily, Simsim, Wayne, do you guys want to jump in?
So I think I'll give my update afterwards, and I'll go into some of the points you mentioned.
Awesome.
I can do the same when I give an update, Iago.
All right, sounds good. So with that, let's move on to Wayne.
Hey guys, good to be here. I'll go through a quick list of the key items that we have on as it what's coming up. Talk to our view on perps, some of the insights we might have found, and then we can either present a sneak peek at the brand guidelines on the website now, or as Iago suggested, we can do it at the end of the call. So in terms of adoption and guidance, obviously we have the brand launch and website launch coming up as a major project for us. In this sprint, the marketing sprint, adoption sprint, which started yesterday, which goes for 2 weeks, primary focus for us is getting all the content, including SEO consideration, to that site. We're doing new videos and animations in line with the new brand guidelines and some of the pretty awesome videos that French Victory's been doing for Zero, building one for Perps as well. So there's a lot of rich media and video content for the website. Fine lines finishing off all the AI designs, which takes a lot of time. Getting it as the website in a state where it's ready to fully present to the community. We're putting in place an analytics implementation plan, which is a massive piece of work, and a launch plan for the website and the rebrands. So once the brand and the website's in market, I'd love to put the foot down and probably do a launch of the Sovryn brand and get to the forefront of the conversation of it. So we're planning around all that as key priorities in our current sprint. We've just finished an analytics implementation project across the DAP, which is a massive win for us. We now have user behavior and conversion tracking across every interaction point on the trading environment, which from a marketing perspective is just golden. We can now measure conversion against everything we're doing, ROI against everything we're doing, and use that for our planning going forward. We're scoping out, and there's no promises here, but it's something I'd love to get in place. We're scoping out a possible affiliate program. We talked about Iago listed off a bunch of community members. We talked to Thomas earlier. It'd be great to find a way to incentivize, create a sovereign army out of our community. So that's something we're looking at currently to see if it's viable. Obviously, it's a bit of a different game in DeFi to validate or verify some of the commission-based activity. But I think there could be a way around it, which would I think that would be a big win for both marketing and the community. The teams signed off a couple of quite key I say we're starting to look at key partnerships for marketing and adoption. RSK is co-funding marketing activity for Xero over Q3. We're looking at kicking that off shortly. Hacken.io, who did the security audit for Vasily on Perps, is doing a co-marketing program of work for us for Perps. Quite good reach there across all of their social channels, email base. Quite a few assets that we can use to get some reach on Perps. And Englandia is trying very hard to get us the B&B Smart Chain co-marketing agreement for Perps underway. So there's some good reach there, I think, coming up for those two key products that Iago mentioned that we've launched. Behind the scenes, the team, we realize that we need to start getting reach beyond. We need to broaden our achievable market beyond just the community. We've been trialing a lot of paid channels to see how they perform, starting with ones that, from our experience in crypto, we knew probably wouldn't work. So we've looked at promoting the Sovryn brand and Xero on Twitter and been banned. They've got a no DeFi policy. Done the same with LinkedIn and been blocked, no DeFi policy. Same with pretty much all the main social media channels. As we expected, we had to trial them though. These are the high reach channels with, the really granular audience segmentation. But in the back of our mind, we know in the planning we're doing for the Xero paid activity and to launch the brand, it'll be the marketing activity we know works in crypto. So it'll be, can we launch the affiliate program, finding influencers with an audience that resonate against Sovryn, getting ourselves in positions of thought leadership, getting Iago on some interviews and some podcasts, community management and growth. We've got some PR opportunities on the horizon. We're working on a revised social media strategy with Twitter as a focus, but one interesting insight is we've seen a very high conversion rate off LinkedIn for Xero. So the next channel down in terms of Xero conversion was about 5% conversion, which is still very high. LinkedIn's consistently over the last month been about a 25% conversion of organic activity for Xero, which is just absolutely massive. So that's an insight for us that we're going to start focusing on that channel, potentially that audience. We're focusing on SEO. We're looking at a content strategy going forward, whether organic or paid. There's a lot of planning work and testing going on in the background that's feeding into these plans around how we launch the new brand and how we put some reach behind our key products. We've all heard about the TVL for Xero. We continue to promote Xero. There was a new video last week which got some really good traction. We're inviting 200 people a day onto the early access. We need to get the conversion rate up a bit. There's quite a few people receiving the invite who have not taken part. So if you've received an invite and you haven't jumped into the trading environment or the DApp and you haven't opened a line of credit, please do so. Any issues with the invites, let the community team know. We can resend those out. For Xero as well, RSK, I had a chat to them today, and they are very keen to do a big PR and content push for us through their global content distribution networks, which is amazing. Perpetual futures trading now fully open. We're looking at setting up a monthly trading competition. We have a promotional video similar to Xero going out this week. We've had a Hacker Noon article go out a few days ago that's had 3,000 unique readers in 4 or 5 days. We've had 4 or 5 blog articles on Perps last month that have actually had a lot of unique viewers. So the Perps articles are the top of the list in terms of content on the Sovryn website. There's a lot of people going to them, 400 or 500 unique users in the last week reading Perps articles. And they're going beyond a 75% scroll depth. So there's a real interest in the product. We continue to push out social content. As discussed in the last community call, we've got a high level of traffic from LA Token. We've done email blasts, social blasts to the community. What we're seeing with Perps is I think we're actually getting we're getting quite good reach and we're getting initial traction with the audience. So maybe the reach is too broad. I get a feeling we need to refine the audience we're looking at. But we are getting the reach for the message. We're getting people coming to the site with intent, as we saw with the people who signed up for the trading competition, as we're seeing with the deep interaction on the perpetuals content on the website. What we're doing now is we're just delving into where the conversion issue might be coming from. We'll play around with content on websites. We'll play around with the sales funnel on the site. We've sent out a perpetual survey to traders and non-traders and got some results back, some responses back. Not a huge sample size yet. I think about 13 non-traders and 5 traders. There's some things that pop out immediately. People saying they'd like to see mobile, they'd like to see, can read a couple of them. You know, a mobile native, lower fees, trading service without fees, such as DYDX. So there's some good insights in here. In general, the people who have used the service, though, there doesn't seem to be a negative sentiment. There just seems to be a level of lethargy. So there's not a huge amount of negative comments. It's just people haven't really got round to it. They haven't, I don't think they've felt the urgency to delve in there. So Vasily & Co., once those surveys are finished, we will share those and hopefully get some insights out. And as Iago mentioned, Simsim's been looking at the user journey from the point of entry onto the site all the way through to wallet connection for perps. Nothing glaringly obvious stands out. People are dropping off at an even rate across the whole user journey, which indicates that maybe we can make some more compelling content to push them along that journey. And maybe we just need some more. We need to articulate the USP or the competitive nature of the product. This research is ongoing, so we'll share more as we know it, as we kind of find out. Those are the main items from me, Englandia. Did you want to? Iago, do you think we should do the website at the end or do it now?
We can have it towards the end after all the updates, just so we can make sure we get all the updates.
Whoever wants to hang around to the end, I'll do a bit of a sneak peek on the brand and the website. So thank you, guys.
All right, cool. We can take one question for Wayne, and then we have to move on. So if anyone wants to speak now, feel free to unmute yourself. I'm watching the general chat. I'm ready. If not, we can move on to the next round of updates. Okay, so Aurora, would you like to take the stage?
Hi, sure. So I've got some good news. Since we met for the last time, we received the audit report from Least Authority regarding the bidirectional FastBTC, and they did not find any security issues. They just made some minor improvement suggestions. So we should be able to raise the limits for the off-ramp very soon. So we'll keep you posted on that. But we are very excited about that. Then we are currently busy with QA testing a smart contract release. And this release consists of a loan token update. We refactor the margin trading so that it is consuming much less gas. So this should be noticeable in the next days after we push that out. And we are also updating the wrapper proxy, which is used for the AMM. And the wrapper proxy is the job of wrapping the RBTC into the WRBTC, which we're using behind the scenes, and also managing the connection to the liquidity mining contract. So that's also going to come. Apart from that, the bridge update finally passed the review, and we're also scheduling the QA for that, so the off-chain signature exchange can be deployed. Also, still within this month, I would say. Apart from that, we have another update, which is currently under QA and possibly even still going out today, and if not, then tomorrow, and that's on the DEP itself. It does not contain any smart contract updates, but it contains the first bit of the graph migration, which we've been waiting for and working on for a long while. So we switched the majority of the data used in the Sovryn DEP to be loaded from the graph. And where that's not possible, they are handled by microservices, which can perform the same operations and which can be easily scaled up to prevent problems with large and sudden spikes in traffic. There is, if you're interested, information about what the graph is and how it's works and how we're using it in the Sovryn wiki. This update also comes with an enhanced UX for the cross-chain flow. So it comes with layout updates and the terminology change to be less confusing, and also some minor bug fixes. Currently in the review is the refactoring of the staking contract, which we're working on, because we reached the contract size limit, so we needed to change the structure of the contract to be able to implement future changes. We are doing the final touches on the Zero SDK, and on the front-end side, we're finalizing the graph migration and future improvements to the UI flow. So that's the update from my side. I'm not going to go into detail of the perps because Vasily is going to do that himself.
All right, thanks a lot, Aurora. Do we have any questions for her? So Rich Sman, I don't know if you were trying to ask a question, but you're currently unmuted. Please mute yourself or I'll have to mute you. Thanks. So any questions? All righty, so let's move on to Vasily with perps.
Thanks, Ingmar. Hey, everyone. So we just launched a bug bounty program specifically for the perps on the Unify, and we made this public on Twitter and the GitHub repo, and we'll also add some links from the trading page. Then I want to touch on two items that Iago touched on. One is onboarding difficulty, and the other one is about trading fees. So currently, I think it's quite difficult for people to get onboarded to Perpetuals because they need to bridge their funds, and I think we can improve the interfaces and other stuff. So we are looking into that, but the immediate action we take is that we will add the possibility to use Binance Smart Chain Bitcoin to trade Perpetuals. So that means if you have a Binance account, you can send your Bitcoin to the Binance Smart Chain to your address, and you can then log into the Perpetuals page and use those funds to trade Perpetuals. I think that's going to be very easy for people who have a Binance account, and this should go live in the next few days. And we also think that should help a little bit with the trading volume. Then the other part is on trading fees. So there are two parts to fees. One is gas fees, and the other one is what you pay for a trade. And within paying for the trade, you have trading fees, but you also have spreads and slippage. So spreads is if you open a trade and then close it again, you make a loss due to spreads. And slippage is if you have a larger trade, your price moves against you the larger your trade is. So now let's look first at the trading. So we probably have the lowest trading fees among DeFi perpetuals with 8 basis points. I didn't check that more recently, but it certainly belongs to the lower ones. Then for the slippage, if you take the same amount of capital, we can safely say that we have the lowest slippage of all DeFi perpetuals. Now we have to be a bit careful with that because there are some other protocols that call themselves perpetuals, but they're not actually perpetuals, so they might have lower slippage, but they cheat you somewhere else. So one example is GMX. GMX, you have, I think, 0 slippage, but there you get wrecked by their funding rates because you pay, first of all, the funding rate is not denominated at 8 hours, like usually, like the convention is, but it's, I think, an hourly rate or something like that. And second, both sides pay, the long and the short, whereas with a regular perpetual, only one side pays and the other side earns funding rate, depending on the demand for long and short. So there are some products out there that look attractive in that perspective, but they have some tricks, I would say. So then there are also perpetuals which are partially centralized. So, and then to me, it is similar to comparing a Formula One car with an SUV. A Formula One car is very delicate and can go very, very fast, but it's broken quickly and it needs a lot of engineers to maintain it. And an SUV, you can't go as fast, but there are other advantages that you have with an SUV. So, similar to that, if you have, for instance, an off-chain order book, you can be extremely fast if you only need to settle on the chain. One example for that is Pancake Perpetuals. They have an off-chain order book. So if you open that page, the trades flash. We can't do that if you're fully decentralized because the block time is 3 seconds, and that's just the physical limit that we have to work with. Another example of partially centralized is actually DYDX, because there the order book is also off-chain. And yet another example of basically fully centralized is Collider, that looks like it was decentralized because they have Lightning transactions with which you can onboard your funds. So in terms of what we compare with, I think we should compare the same type of exchange, because if you're decentralized, we pay some costs. So that's on the trading. Now on the gas costs, there I think we can, so as you probably know, it costs around $3. So it's better to have larger trades to get the fees in relative terms lower. And we are currently working on making some gas optimizations. But as you probably also know, we already optimized a lot. So now we are more looking into removing some functionality that is probably not needed, so that after the change, you wouldn't even notice it if you're using the front end. So I expect that we can shave off some of the gas, but I can't promise too much on how much lower it will be than the $3 that we currently have. That's it from me, and I'm very happy to take questions.
I thought the comparisons with other perps exchanges was very, very informative, Vasily. And yeah, it could be worth making some tweet threads and post about it. Yeah, I mean, my gut reaction was shots fired at GMX, but yeah, I think we need to have conversations like this. So, any questions for Vasily? As always, I encourage questions, as these are open forums. We don't want to talk at the community. We want to speak with the community because we are the community. So yeah, this is the time, if you have something to say, to go ahead and speak up. It's always encouraged. But if there are no questions for Vasily, I can cover a bit on business development updates. And then we can move on to Wayne's presentation. So yeah, I generally like to speak on things that are happening and not potential, not conversations. So anything that's getting done, that's what I like to report on. So we've begun work on Mount Pelerin, the widget for off-ramping RBTC or RDoc or USDT into actual fiat. So Mount Pelerin is a widget similar to Transact with some added benefits for non-US users, namely the off-ramping crypto into fiat and with very, very advantageous rates. So that's in development and led by Peely for now. So shout outs to him. Next, ILV Labs has begun legal talks with a large international payments processor for converting stablecoins into fiat into user accounts. And I've made sure that in this agreement they include stablecoins in the Sovryn ecosystem. So that would certainly include Sovryn Dollar or ZUSD from Zero, as well as XUSD. So more on that once they officially sign. We've passed the security requirements that Binance has for granting further marketing support. We have the audits in place, and we've been live for a little bit. So we're speaking with them next Tuesday to see what kind of marketing push we can execute, which I think will help us get a lot more eyes on the Perps product. Someone asked about the Sovryn mobile app. I'm not sure if they mean the banking app that we're exploring, or the mobile app that one individual from our community started building a little while back. I can say that we're in the exploratory phase still with the Sovryn banking app, just seeing which partners are most suitable while being cost effective. And we found some, while others are either one of the two, where they're, the value offering is excellent, but the affordability might not be as much. So this is still just an exploratory phase. We may or may not do this. That's all I really want to say about it. And with that, I'd like to pass the mic to Wayne.
Thanks, mate. I realize we don't have a huge amount of time, guys. So this is just a sneak peek. We're not going to go through page by page, word for word. That'll be done in a few weeks' time when we're ready to present the kind of finalized product with content, the correct content on the websites that we're working on, some of the videos that are going on the site, some of the rich media. But I think we're at a point now where we can give everybody a bit of a sneak peek at what the new brand's going to look like, some of our thinking around the brand guidelines, and even look at a couple of pages of the site. So we'll jump in. Okay, can everybody see that screen?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. So we have a pretty comprehensive set of brand guidelines. A big brand book here, which we're still putting the final touches on. What we've still got to work on is the sub-brands, Zero, Perpetuals, which we're nearly there with, but it's close to being a finished product, which we can share for review. Pretty much goes through the sovereign strategy, global impact, why we exist, taglines, values, brand and voice, logos, colors, typography, illustrations, imagery, how we use motion in the brand and use. 90% complete, a few gaps we have to fill, but covers all bases in my mind. I'll pass over to Iago in a second to talk to some of the thinking behind the strategy just very quickly and the brand vision. But as you expect, strategy around self-sovereignty, providing freedom to people, financial freedom through technology, education, community, moving away from centralized control and adhering to the real principles of decentralization, financial freedom. There's some amazing content in here for us to follow as an organization and as a community, and to ingrain into all of our kind of content and activity. We have a view of the global impact through technology, education, and community that Sovryn wants to have on the world. It's again amazing to articulate this, to guide our action, to guide our behavior, especially in marketing. Why Sovryn? Information on why the brand exists, problem statement, solution. Taglines: autonomy for all, through ownership we are free, no masters before us, free of masters, unlocking your sovereignty. Really tapping into self-sovereignty of individuals, said through technology, education, community that we can provide. Moving away from decentralized control, providing financial freedom through decentralized finance, values which will be ingrained here internally and into the activity that we have in market. Really good guidelines, I think, to drive who we are and what we're doing in market. Brand and voice, logos, different logo iterations, how they're used with different typography, messaging, all core brand guideline stuff. The idea here being that beyond just the values and the strategy, if we were to provide this brand book to a designer who hadn't worked on Sovryn before, member of the community who is creating assets for Sovryn, that everything they need is here. All the information you need is here to build out an aesthetic and the tone and the language needed for us to have consistency of voice and design and market. Colorations, you guys would have noticed the coloration theme across these brand guidelines. I've gone through them. Basically, we've chosen to use vibrant colors that build up a sense of energy and movement, evoke optimism and a better future. And that orange is obviously linked to the connection with Bitcoin. It's linked with Bitcoin. So that's a key connection there. Typography, different typefaces. I've got some notes here from Fineline. Different typefaces have been chosen for their flexibility. One of them, here we go, uncompromisingly bold and fearless with its tall form. The other one is a simplistic wide typeface. Logic behind this is a mixture of tall and wide typography is often used through social movements to evoke strength and progression. So there's very deliberate consideration here into the typography we've used, into the coloration we've used. We're building out icons for the new website. The illustrations you'll see in the site designs, I think, are very cool. We have we've chosen images that are bold and that are vibrant, that instill a kind of better world, cutting edge technology. And as part of this, I think it ties into the kind of ethos of the brand and fits in really well with the brand. These images are all AI generated. So Fineline's spent a huge amount of time generating AI images to go across the brand guidelines, to go across site, to go across all of our marketing material, advertising material, social material. And the purpose behind them is to show, how a better world could look like, growth towards something greater, that next step. So it's once again the provocative imagery being chosen alongside the coloration, alongside the typography, alongside the brand messaging, all to focus on the sovereign world ahead, and self-sovereignty. Some illustrations there that you guys would have seen from team profiles, team avatars. And we'll see more of the AI imagery on the website. I know Fineline is spending a huge amount of time refining those images to create an asset bank of a huge amount of imagery that we can use across all purposes, all mediums, all channels. Guidelines on how to use real life imagery, how we're going to use motion, animation. We're going to work on these, but there's some examples of the brand in use and how it's going to look across different assets. Something pretty simple. So this is an area we'll build on. We'll build on the examples here. Yeah, I think, we've got a bit of touching up to do with the sub-brands, but this is what I'd expect out of a really comprehensive brand book. It's got our values, it's got our strategy, it's got fastidious consideration into things like coloration, tone of voice, language, typography, imagery, how it all ties in together to really deliver the messaging and the values that we want to adhere to. So that's a sneak peek at the brand guidelines. Iago, I'm not sure if you want to jump in and just talk to the vision behind some of this for 2 minutes.
I suggest you do very quickly show what this would look like in terms of the new website so that people can get a sense how this impacts.
Wonderful. So we have all the designs for the website pretty much signed off. The content creation is a huge piece of work, which we're working through. That is written content. That is all these image assets, not just for the website, but we have to redesign the whole ecosystem, the existing documentation, the existing marketing material. We're redesigning the Sovryn ecosystem. I'll show you a couple of pages here. Basically, this is our new sitemap. We've got features, trading, earn, borrow. There'll be key products at the top of those pages. So these are all key landing pages with some sub-landing pages under them. Trading, we will very heavily promote perps at the top of that. Borrow, zero, some great video content, call to action content, informational content for zero. Explore, that's our learn section. All the resources you might need or content you might need. We'll build up a learning section there in the future. Podcasts and media, anything Sovryn related will be in there. Some really cool community pages, driving people to join the community, explaining what a DAO is, explaining how governance works, autocracy works. A page to appeal to developers, bring them into the community. And then visionary pages, our story about, put all our press, news, PR up on the site. We'll have a careers page and a contact page, and always CTAs following the audience to the DAP. We can track ROI. A couple of examples. We won't spend long here. It is just a sneak peek. But if we look at the home page, try and get it. So we've got a big hero banner with AI generated artwork in line with the new brand guidelines, new typography. Please ignore the content. The content has not been updated, so all the wording is going to change. We're working on that right now. And we'll then put that into the CMS when the designs are finished. Big primary CTAs to drive people to different parts of the site for the DAP. We have a problem statement here around the current state of world and finance. There's a very cool functionality here as you scroll. It's like an auto reader. The text turns white as you scroll through and your eyes follow the problem statement down. Might not be a final image, but working on the imagery, something showing the sovereign world. So we have our problem statement there. Then we'll delve into the solution. The solution that Sovryn presents, which will link off to content. This will be a one scroll horizontal fold, which will look amazing once it's coded. So the user gets here down the vertical scroll once on their mouse, and it'll fold like a book page over, and that'll show technology. It'll show our technology pillars, our proprietary technology. Proof points for Sovryn. Then a big section showing our features. It'll be earn, borrow, trade. These images are not final. It'll highlight the key features on the DAP. Section for us to show prominent video, with the product videos, with interviews, with the podcasts, links off to news and updates, resources page, a statement at the end that shows what we want the future to be. And then at the very end of the homepage here, there'll be maybe 4 or 5 horizontal scrolls of AI images, Sovryn World, which will be a nice to end that vertical journey down. So you can see the brand guidelines in action here. You can see the coloration, you can see the tone, you can see the narrative we're trying to build on the homepage, the problem with the current system, the solution, the technology, how we can push people towards financial freedom and our features, and then a vision of the utopia at the end. Other pages follow a similar track. We've got features, we've got explore, pages like community, push people off to our key community channels. We'll have a video attracting people into the community, pages for join, pages for build, pages for governance, pushing people to follow Sovryn on key channels, FAQs for community pages. One of the pages of community is join. That's the other primary landing, one of the 3 primary landing pages. So join sells a benefit to the community. What is a DAO? This content will change. It's generally a guideline. We'll have probably a really nice animated video here in line with the new brand guidelines showing what a Sovryn DAO is and the benefits of the community. Proof points for the community and driving people to join the community, join our social channels. There's a big focus on this website to try and help us grow the community. So there's multiple, ROIs in my mind. We're driving people to the DApp, obviously. We want to drive up TVL, but we also want to sell the vision. We want to drive people to believe in the community, to grow the size of our community, stakers and Sovryn. Things like resources page, what you'd expect, it'll literally be a huge amount of resource, everything somebody would want to find on Sovryn, black paper, tokenomics, wiki, using the DApp, guidelines on governance, GitHub, links to our blog articles. I think
we're coming to the end of the call. There's a PM meeting that is supposed to happen immediately after this call, which I was supposed to join. I would suggest the PMs take that meeting. Wayne, leave it on screen. Take that meeting without me. I'll join as soon as possible. I'd like to be able to spend some time discussing this with the community.
Apologies, I went on a bit. I got a bit overexcited.
No worries.
That's sneak peeks. I'll leave it there, Iago. And if you want to talk to anything, go for it.
Sure. So I have a lot to say about this. But before I do, I'm interested to hear, what do you guys think?
Looks awesome.
Very, very cool. I really like it.
It's amazing, like the development since the first bit of. No, it's really amazing.
Looks amazing from here.
Awesome. Good to hear. All right. I'd like to talk a little bit about what I think are some of the key aspects of this, and because we've put a lot of thought and work into this. One of the things that were important to us is to provide a type of brand that nobody has ever seen before, an aesthetic that is different and unique. And I think we have provided something very creative and which is going to be not just unique and distinctive so that you'd recognize it in different places and that it stands out, but unique in a different way, unique in a way that it's presenting a new type of aesthetic. So one way that we're doing this is that, it's very, very bold. Most brands today have tried to become more minimalist, more demure. They tend to either be super minimalist, grays, blues, or they tend to be retro if they're louder. So, they look like, if you guys, for example, think about Ethereum or about the Thor movies, right? Or about Wonder Woman, right? They're all doing this 80s neon aesthetic. If they want to be bold. We are trying to imagine what the aesthetic of the future looks like. The other way that we're doing this is with the colors. We obviously wanted to start with the orange for obvious reasons, but contrasting it with the teal, which is both heroic and which provides the sort of like earth and sky contrast. But I think the most important aspect here is the overall movement here with the brand is to start providing us with the opportunity to mature into the next phase of Sovryn. Sovryn as a brand, Sovryn, as a suite of products, has been around building tools of sovereignty, which has basically been DeFi tools for Bitcoin. We want to be able to start introducing something which goes beyond that, which is the sovereign nation, the ability to create something far more all-encompassing, and basically to provide an antidote for what we view as the primary sort of problem. And the primary problem, and we see this across everything, including the Bitcoin community, is that the discourse and the narrative and the way people think today has become pessimistic, nihilistic, cynical. People have lost the ability to imagine not just a different future, but a better future. And so, Wayne, if you take us back to the website, our current website is very dark, but in the new website, there's only one dark frame. Scroll down. This one, right? And this is not finalized, but it's a placeholder still, but it's one dark frame. The dark frame is not about, it's about where we are, but more about where we are. It's about how we, as a civilization, Western civilization and human civilization more generally, have lost a sense of ambition, which is achievable, have lost a sense of optimism, have lost the ability to imagine progress. The other aspect that we've done here, and which is why, I think the other unique aspect of this brand is that it's the first brand that I'm aware of that has purposefully decided to make focal the imagery be AI generated imagery. And the reason it's AI generated imagery is not only because it allows us to generate large amounts of image content, but it's because we wanted to be able to evolve the idea. Right? We had created a very startling brand. At the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, we grabbed a lot of attention through our heroic comic brand. Right? We had a website that looked like it was out of a comic book. And that was a brave choice, which a lot of people hated. And that's good. We don't want everyone to love it because then it's bland. But we wanted to be able to evolve that while keeping the degree to which it is unique. And we wanted it to speak to where we think the world is going and the values that we have. And so if you scroll back up and to the sides, Wayne, you can see that our imagery here isn't just about the future, it's also from the future. In a few years, we're going to probably switch away from this because we're doing it before it's cool. This is what imagery in the future is going to look like. It's going to be mediated by AI, and the world is going to be about highly creative humans working with the powerful tools of artificial intelligence. And that goes far beyond Bitcoin, it goes far beyond cryptocurrency. So when we talk, and then the final thing that we wanted to be able to provide an image of what a world which is able to imagine and able to act on the basis of that optimism, what that looks like. What is a world what does the world of the sovereign nation look like, right? Because we're going to be building, or our aspiration is to build a platform which goes beyond DeFi for Bitcoin, in fact, goes beyond Bitcoin itself, and builds a world not just on the technology of Bitcoin or on the asset of Bitcoin, but on the core fundamental principles of Bitcoin that attracted us to Bitcoin. Individual sovereignty, optimism about the future, the ability to change things instead of through politics, but through technology, and the ability to use the most advanced technologies that we have, put them together to empower individuals. And we want to be able to provide the education, the tools, and the platform to make that possible for everyone in the future. Everyone who decides that this is something that they want to choose. And so that's what we're hoping that this will be able to inspire, will be able to communicate even without words, and will be able to continue to sort of grow with us as we grow, not just the suite of products that we're offering, but the type of challenges that we take on, and continue to grow and start particularly putting emphasis on growing an international community of people who are galvanized and united by a shared set of beliefs and a shared imagination of what a better future could look like. And maybe if you guys want, we could now open it up to conversation.
Yeah, we're going a little bit over time, but I think this is such a special reveal that, let's stick around for a little longer. And if you guys have questions, this is pretty extraordinary stuff, and we'd appreciate your feedback, because we're doing this for you guys, for the community.
Maybe one last thing I'll add. Because we're using AI to help generate the imagery and eventually generate parts of the site and UI as well, we are also going to be able to release that as open source, so that anyone will be able to create thematically sovereign, so like recognizably sovereign images for their own memes, for their own Twitter, for their own profile pics, or for whatever it is that they want to use. So this is not going to be just something which is a centrally generated brand, but by mediating the work, we're going to create a decentralized brand.
Hey guys, I have a question. I'm currently an RSK ambassador. Love what's going on with RSK. Been following RSK since 2019, and I love what's happening with Sovryn. It's probably the best DeFi app on RSK. But I have a very interesting question for you guys. Are you guys looking at ZK rollups to implement? Because I'm seeing it happen with ORF. It's going to be it's going to be a game changer, because what's happening with ZK rollups is that it's going to allow you to basically send stablecoins like ZUSD, right? Without any gas, which would be without any RBTC needed for it to move around, which would be crucial. I'm waiting to see that happen in a few months from now. ZK VM, if you guys have heard about that.
Sovryn's been working on ZK rollups since day one. So we've been working on rollups as part of our roadmap for a year and a half. And so the answer is yes.
Perfect. Yes, I'm very, very bullish on ZK rollups, and I see it as a way for everyday DeFi, because once we're able to use like ZUSD for everyday purposes without having to deal with RBTC, that's going to be a game changer right there.
Thanks a lot, Cordy.
No problem. That's one. Do it.
We can discuss anything. It doesn't have to be just branding or imagery, but anything that we've discussed or anything that you guys would like to raise.
Oh yeah, hey guys, I have one more question. Sorry about that. One more question about Dropper. That's going to be very, very interesting. What's happening over there? Anything that, because it's very, very, very low key. What's happening with Dropper? It's hard to find information with Dropper. What's the mission behind that? And then having interoperable NFTs.
So we'd be happy. So we're looking forward to having Dropper become part of the Sovryn family and the Sovryn ecosystem. But I think they've found that it's taking them a lot longer for various reasons to deploy. I mean, building is hard. And so I don't know what the status there is in terms of when we can expect it to launch.
Okay, good. Hopefully soon, because that's going to be a very, very big deal, especially for RSK, because we could bring people from Ethereum to RSK side by bridging NFTs from one network to another.
Yeah, so sometimes sometimes Excel Surfer makes appearances in these calls. He's the lead for Dropper. Sometimes he hops over from their Discord to ours and gives a few updates when they happen. But I'm sure you can probably get a more inside scoop over there. So I just want to read some of these comments that we're getting in the general chat. So Bayek says, looks very promising. Sagro says, great job, looks amazing, loves it. Floopy Disc says, I think one of our biggest challenges right now is that people just see Sovryn as another DeFi. Hearing the team talk about bigger goals is super inspiring, but it's hard to see those goals in the DApp. This new branding is a huge leap forward to bringing Sovryn's message to the public. And he also asks, this new branding, does it include the DApp?
It will include a reskin of the DApp initially, so there'll be, in terms of aesthetic, there'll be an aesthetic consideration. There is not part of the marketing remit, but there is a Yago, you might want to talk to that. I think later this year there's probably an updated version of the DApp coming out. But in terms of brand aesthetic, we'll make sure that there's consistency.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that looks.
Yeah, so that won't be immediate. But we're in the process of making the DApp itself much easier for us to change and introducing design elements which are more related to this. So, earlier I spoke about a 4-month process before we see the impact of that. But the DApp will change less than the website because the DApp needs to focus on functionality, but it will resonate with these elements.
Okay, so we have a couple people typing. Travis Trades, could you mute yourself if you're not going to ask a question?
Hey, I just want to say that I love the change from the black and white to the color and with a lot more narrative to it. I really, really like it. And I'm just thinking, if it's such a big change, what's the thought on the reveal to the people that have already a certain image when they think of Sovryn?
We're working on that as well. Current thinking is to have the first Sovryn Sovryn event, in which we will reveal this as well as a number of other cool things that we hope to be able to reveal.
I like that. That sounds cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I really like that. It has like this brighter future utopia kind of vision behind it. Almost kind of solar punky with the landscapes and stuff, how they blend with technology. And yeah, it just becomes more than just DeFi. So I think it's really, really cool.
I want to give a shout out here to Fineline on the team, who's done an amazing job of learning to teach the AI how to create Sovryn imagery, and doing so in a way in which it's also going to become possible. And we expect to put out basically like a how-to instructional video or how-to instructional materials and how other people can take the work that she's done and you add their creativity to create this kind of content. And this can also be expanded to creating video content, creating NFT type content. So this is going to potentially be a powerful sort of image generation platform for us.
Yeah, I think the art style reminds me of the Miyazaki movies, which I love. So I'm very happy with this.
Hi, it's Hyde from Bubblefish here. A lot of great updates, and as I see, Sovryn team is extremely busy with Zero and a lot of important improvements. It's really great to see that a lot of things are happening there. I have a general question about bubblefish incubation because a lot of time has passed, and I think it's time to update the bubblefish community about what is going on and where it is heading. And yeah, it raises a lot of another questions. Maybe if bubblefish incubation is not disturbing or affecting working on Sovryn things, or another way around, is this massive effort focused on Sovryn and Zero not affecting bubblefish incubation?
So our overall sense is that it doesn't make sense to provide updates until we have concrete updates to provide. That said, I know that the Babelfish team are planning to have, I believe, later this month, an update session with the Babelfish community, focusing on roadmaps and governance changes, and updating on the technical progress being made. So things have been moving, but there's this great line by I think it was Lincoln, who said, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a cherry tree, I'll spend the first hour sharpening my axe. And so I think if we want, Babelfish had the feeling that they were underperforming in terms of their shipping and delivery times previously. It's worth going silent, making the investment so that in the future that pace of development is accelerated. So right now, I think Babelfish are spending the first hour sharpening their axe.
Okay, thank you. Although I was involved in some of the activities, and I had also like a preview on things happening there, and it was like stopping, just before having some important updates, and yeah, and I was expecting some news in coming days, and it's taking a little bit more time, but it makes sense to be better prepared, and yeah, let's wait then.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry. I want to give a final round for questions or comments, and then we can bring this call to a close. And thanks everyone for sticking around. We've had around 60-something people, and we still have over 50 people sticking around. So this has been a wonderful episode this week.
Oh yes, guys, I have one more question. It's related to blockchain domains. Right now, they're getting a lot of attention on Ethereum. So far, OpenSea has bought their own name. We have Tiffany & Co. That's like, I see Tiffany & Co. buying their own name, Tiffany.eth. So there's a lot happening with that. What's Sovryn's idea behind blockchain domains and using that as an incentive to bring in communities to DeFi?
Currently, so early on, we examined this and we're thinking it would be a cool thing to do. We haven't done it and we don't expect to do it because we need to focus on those things which are core right now. And that's a gimmick. It's not really a domain that you can use with most browsers. It's mostly for people to have a personalized address, which is fun and cool, but I think especially in bear markets, it's really important that we focus on fundamentals and not on toys. And my personal sense is, and I think that's my personal sense is that that's a cool toy, but it's a toy.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a toy because there's a lot going on now to a point where people can log into websites without Google or without or Facebook just by using their name. So I'm seeing great things happening on the Ethereum side with that aspect. And we have,
you could definitely do that, and that's cool. But I mean, which websites are people logging into?
Yeah, because it's happening. There's a lot happening right now with providing security on the blockchain, having it secure in Bitcoin, especially storage and RF login, all these services that we have available could be a great thing to market to people as well. That's happening into the ecosystem. But I understand it could be expensive to build out.
Yeah, it's just not something that's anywhere near. If someone from the community wants to work on it, awesome. But we've got other things that we're working on.
Yeah, I completely understand that part. So definitely.
All right, so we got one last question from the YouTube chat. Are you all considering creating an advocates or referral program? Well, we certainly have advocates. We've had a couple of individuals volunteer to help us with our booth at Bitcoin 2022. We have people wanting to contribute and make introductions for us, which we're hugely grateful for. Referral program, I think we were experimenting on it, but I think it's on hold for now unless someone has further details on that.
As part of the update earlier, it's something we're scoping out. We're just scoping out the viability of it and how we could make it work. Be a great thing to have for the community. So there could be some news on that in the future. No promises, but we're just scoping out to see if we can make it work in a DeFi environment.
Yeah. So I'd like to bring this call to a close and say thanks for joining in, guys. You're all part of this mission. We're trying to bring DeFi to Bitcoin, but also build a new world on top of it. So help us spread the word and create more sovereign individuals. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Telegram, subscribe to the Sovryn YouTube channel, check out our recordings, share them with your friends, and visit our DApp at sovryn.app. And also sign up for the Zero waitlist, live.sovryn.app/0. Thanks, everyone. Keep kicking ass. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Stay sovereign.
Stay sovereign.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, bye. Bye, thank you.